Welcome back to Veterans Forum, a program by veterans, about veterans, for veterans and their families. I'm your co-host, Bob West, with Ray Chattery and Jerry Devlin. Our goal to provide important information to you and your family on legislation, benefits, support, and activities, typically by interviewing leaders in your community. However, we're going to skip that tonight, and the three of us are going to talk about what activities are going to occur over the next few months right here in Bowie within your service organizations. The most important thing that you can do is to have you stop by the DAV on 197 just south of Bowie State University, or stop by the American Legion on Laurel Bowie Road. Find out what's happening. You must take active activity in order for you to find out what's happening, or your family member. So let's get started. Jerry, why don't you tell us what's happening with the Veterans Court, which is very important to Maryland veterans.
As you know, 3 or 4 years ago, Governor O'Malley set up a study commission to come up with a proposal for the Veterans Court. The concept of a special court for veterans has been part of the judicial policy of a number of states. One of the very first where it started was Erie County, which of course is Buffalo, New York. And I was on this commission with a group of legislators and three veterans, past commander of the VFW, and Clifford Bone, a young veteran from Montgomery County, Middle East veteran. And and of course 2 judges were on it, so and Secretary Chow, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. So we had a very well-balanced commission, and we talked to the judiciary, and we felt it could be done without passing any legislation. And one of the things it's moving along very quickly is Chief Judge, Administrative Judge of the Circuit Court in Prince George's County, Sheila Tillison Adams, is very, very pro-veteran and thinks the court's a good idea. And it looks like the judge of the Veterans Court is going to be Judge Nichols. And Judge Nichols is a recently retired captain in the United States Navy Reserve. He served for, I think, over 30 years, and he's taking it on. And the purpose of the Veterans Court, it would be one of what are called specialty courts. We have a mental health specialty court, and we have a drug specialty court. And the purpose of these is to shortstop some of the problems that come up. That, in other words, it's not very sensible to go forward with the judicial process when you have someone whose problem is psychiatric or psychological. And that we find that the trauma that comes, particularly with our younger veterans, so many things happen to veterans that are the root cause of antisocial behavior. And unfortunately, particularly among career military, very often they have not had the needed psychological and psychiatric treatment, because it's widely perceived among active duty military that if you start suggesting that you have mental problems, you've terminated your career. So a great many veterans have tried to hide this information, and then they get out and find antisocial. And the Veterans Court, it requires a number of agencies to deal with the problems. So if we can deal with the problems of being a veteran first, we can perhaps, well, we have overcrowded jails, and we can prevent people from being incarcerated, which all too often is the only solution people have for antisocial behavior and crime. So I'm looking forward to it very much, and it's Judge Nichols is very pro-military. He's a very fine man, and Judge Tillison Adams, she's been, well, she's splendid in a different way, but she's just very, very enthusiastic. So this will be the demonstration program here in Prince George's County. So
how would that work, Jerry? A veteran would somehow have some sort of an issue with law enforcement?
Yeah.
And what kind of issue would that be? Are we talking misdemeanors? Are we talking what?
Well, that's one of the things, questions that I have now. I don't know how they're going to dovetail it, because obviously you're not going to have a veterans court for all felonies are serious, but the most serious ones. It'll be for minor offenses generally. Really antisocial behavior, not violent criminal behavior. That's dealt with in a different way. So I don't know how and Judge Nichols, of course, is going to be set up in the circuit court. So I don't know how this is going to work, because most of the people who require the treatment and are acceptable, like they're not going to deal with people with felonies. It's going to be misdemeanors, and misdemeanors by by statute and constitution are heard in the district court. So there's got to be some play in here how that's going to work.
Well, most of those people, I would assume, usually start with probably social problems like domestic disputes and that sort of stuff. And I mean, it's not like somebody comes out and all of a sudden commits some sort of a murder or something.
Under the law in Maryland, the circuit and district courts have they both have jurisdiction over domestic violence cases, where much of it will be. In fact, the circuit court judges, they like to hand it back to us in the district court, and so the district court does a lot more of that than the. But that is an excellent area, Bob, where you've had, for example, with the present military situation, you have people who have been deployed over and over again. They're in a simpler world that we used to live in. The good guys are on the other side of the hill, the bad guys are on the other side of the hill, and the good guys are on our side of the hill. Now with IEDs and all of this, the psychological pressures, and then you have, marriages break up. You never know when you're going to be called back. You're away from your family and your business. Somehow people lose both their wives and their business. This idea that, calling reserves over and over again. It's one of the fundamental changes of the military now and the military that we were in. When I was in the post-career, the Marine Corps Reserve was kind of a list of names that the Marine Corps could call up. And in Vietnam, basically, no units were called up. I guess some individuals were called up. But, so now you have people who've done 7, 8, 9 deployments. The psychological pressures that come with this are just awful.
Well, you're absolutely correct. In Vietnam, I went for a year, and that was the standard tour. At that time, you were just called to go, or you volunteered or whatever. And you went for a year, and that was it. But you're absolutely correct. Under the current scenario, the reserves that seem to go on a regular rotation basis, and it's because, from my understanding, it's the more policing activity that they needed to do initially. But it's gotten really into combat.
It's a terrible, terrible, terrible situation. And of course, in America, we've come to 1% of the people in the country do the fighting. That's it's almost a small caste. I came in the era when everybody was a veteran. In fact, even when you were running for elective office a generation ago, if you weren't a veteran, you had a lot of explaining to do.
So the Veterans Court, is it in process right now?
It's in process to be set up. It hasn't started functioning yet.
And do we have a date when we expect?
No, I don't know that.
No. Is that going to be brought up as a part of the legislative year?
Oh, no, it doesn't require legislation.
Okay.
It's going to be done by action of the judiciary.
Okay, so maybe sometime in the next year?
Oh, next month. Oh, sure, very close. Yeah.
Okay. Since we're getting very close to the legislative year, do we have some legislation that seems to be the hot button points?
Well, perhaps you've heard once or twice about the subtraction modification. Presently, the first $5,000 of retired military pension is exempt from state taxes. And it seems like for hundreds of years we've been trying to increase it. And Senator Peters has been a champion of this. And the bill has passed the Senate in the last 2 years unanimously, 47-0. All the Democrats, all the Republicans, all the liberals, all the conservatives voted for it. Then it goes over and dies 1,000 deaths in the House Ways and Means Committee, or in the Rules Committee. If it comes over late, then they don't refer it to anyone. And I just don't understand that. We get a lot of patriotic speeches from the legislators, but I tell them if they just can the speeches and give us the bill, It's my old committee. I served for 12 years in the House Ways and Means Committee. It would not have been stalled in that way. We had more than half the committee were veterans in those days.
Do we have any other really important bills? Because a lot of them seem to be just small things. How about are the Marines going to get their uniforms this year, or whatever that was?
That was crazy. Senator John Astle, who was a 30-year Marine, colonel and a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He had a bill it had no cost. It took the sales tax off newly commissioned Marine second lieutenants at Quantico, not a large number, and they have a choice between having them done privately or having them done through the PX, and then the quality is quite different. So the fiscal note was almost non-existent. Bill passed the Senate again unanimously and went to the graveyard of veterans' bills in the House Ways and Means Committee. Yeah, I thought that was pretty small.
So even the Marines can't get a few bucks out of Annapolis.
Yeah.
So Ray, what's happening with the DAV?
Well, I just want to piggyback on what Jerry said. One thing that could have passed this year on that subtraction modification is Senator Peters had it to where, well, if you're 62 and over, we'll give it to the $5,000 for the veterans who really need it or retired. And there again, one of our veterans groups, they said we all or nothing. Of course, we got nothing. So hopefully we might get Senator Peters to do that and put that in again this year, and we might get something.
We need a prestigious House sponsor.
Right.
I have a couple of people in mind I'm going to talk to, see if we can get to do this one.
Well, maybe we can work on them.
Yeah.
To if they're local, to be even part of our show.
Yeah.
Now we're going back to the Veterans Court. You know that the veterans indication on the driver's license now. You get the veterans mark on the back of the driver's license, and all you need is your DD-214. Take it down to the motor vehicles, and if you do it when your license is expiring, it doesn't cost anything. But if you have 2 or 3 years and you want to get a veterans, it's $25. You can get it done. They'll give you a new driver's license, And which is really good is if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or some of the local, you show that veterans card, you get a really nice discount.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage the veterans out there, whenever they do get your driver's license, to go ahead and get it renewed.
So Ray, what's happening with our gaming machines?
Okay. The DAV will be getting theirs probably on the 10th of September. We're all wired for sound now. We got the electrician in, and that passed inspection, and Comcast came and put in the server box, and the one company from New Jersey came and ran the wire that's going to be hitched up. So all we need now is waiting for the gaming machines to get in and the server, and we'll have 4 machines to start, and then one will be sometime later in 2015. We're authorized to have five machines. Now it's through the Lottery Commission. It's not like the ones on the Eastern Shore. It's called the ticket dispenser, but it's random. I mean, it's not like the pull tab machines. In other words, there's X number of things. I mean, it's random. It's very similar to the ones that they have down at the Rod and Mill.
Okay.
In North Beach.
And for those of you who are familiar with the DAV, where, Ray, will they be situated? Are they going to be in the pool room?
Yeah, they'll be in the game room.
And the game room.
And the current machines that we have, the pull tab machines, will be put out in the bar area, and we already have a place for that. And we do have a ATM machine, and we've already have all that taken care of, and we're ready to go. All we need now is for the lottery to come down and install the 4 machines.
We'd like to extend an invitation too to out there in Bowie TV land to all the members of the DAV, and we have a lot of them. We have 400 or 500 probably live in the Bowie area.
Yes.
Members who don't come by the chapter home very often. We'd like to have them come down and look at the machines and perhaps enjoy the hospitality. And we have a bar, and it's very convivial. It's almost like Cheers. It's a very convivial group of people there, and we'd love to have the inactive members become active, and anyone who's eligible. And again, all members of veterans organizations are admitted. It's not an open admission. It's not Arundel Mills. You have to be a member of a veterans organization or a guest of one of our members.
Right.
Maybe be a good idea to have sort of a grand opening again at some sort. The
one thing that we do have coming up, though, on the 6th of September is the Marine Corps League and the DAV. We're co-hosting a seafood feast, and it's going to run from 4 to 7. It's $40 a person, and it's going to be crab legs, crabs, shrimp, potato salad, coleslaw, corn, draft beer, water, soda, and it'll run for 3 hours. And the Marines have 54 tickets to sell, and the DAV has 54 tickets. And it's available at the bar.
If you like shellfish, this is the best value out there, bar none. It always is Ray runs it. It's run very well. It's the best deal in town, and you can't beat it with a stick. And you don't have to be a veteran to buy a ticket.
Right.
All you have to do is just call the DAV, and they'll be more than happy to provide you a ticket as long as it lasts.
Right.
So
And they tend to be sellouts.
Yes.
yes, it's fabulous. The VFW is also doing one. Ours is in October. We do it for the district. And I will tell you now, since I sell the tickets, we don't have 20 tickets left. So
For the VFW.
and that's for October. It's because people call me and they ask me, can we sign up for the tickets in advance? And so it's amazing. It's a fabulous function. Come on out and see some of your veterans and your friends. So Ray, tell us more about the Marines Helping Marines program, because Tony Begenwall really pushes that program.
Right. Well, fortunately, which is really good, like the Purple Heart people say, we're not looking for new members. Well, they haven't had anybody in the wards, so we haven't had any wounded coming into Bethesda recently. But once a month, they do have the cookout. And they just had one last Wednesday. And Jerry George and Joe Lawrence and Bob Flick and Tony, they run it for the for the Marines Helping Marines program, and they serve the people that are the outpatients, but that are but they have a I can't exactly remember the building over there where the people come, and they sell out, or whenever they get rid of all the food, and it's a really good thing. So,
yeah, it's a good program.
Right.
Now, next month, the Joint Veterans Commission starts up again. So, Jerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Joint Veterans Commission?
Well, the Joint Veterans Committee.
Committee.
The Joint Veterans Committee represents almost all of the congressionally chartered veterans organizations in the state, except the American Legion, and we've tried very hard to bring them in. We've had no particular luck on this. But we try to get a pan-veterans group, and our purpose is to speak with one voice down at Annapolis. And of course, last year, that's what we didn't do. We didn't speak with one voice. The American Legion took the all or nothing thing and got nothing. And you can't let the committee off the hook with that. What they wanted was simply, Maryland, like all states, has the revenue shortage is part of state government, and every state in the union, the governor and the legislature have to either, cut services or raise taxes. So there's tremendous pressure not to cut the revenue. And of course, the bill that was in, I think it had some connection with what's going on in November, the first Tuesday after the first Monday. It was sort of an embarrass the leadership type bill, which, knowing that they couldn't pass it, and if they pass it, the governor would have to veto it. And it was too bad, because and it wasn't really partisan, although there was a partisan element to it, that a Republican legislator from Western Maryland actually introduced the Peters bill and was bipartisan. And I think she was treated rather badly, that the American Legion urged an unfavorable report on her bill, which was the Peters bill. And that would have been the step ahead that we've been denied for so many years. But I'll be back in January.
Mm-hmm. So, Ray, tell us a little bit about where they meet, when they meet, and who can show up.
Okay, the Joint Veterans is made up of the AMVETS, Catholic War Veterans, Disabled American Veterans, the Purple Heart, the Marine Corps League, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the 6 big major chartered by Congress veterans organizations. We meet the 3rd Wednesday of every month from September through March, right here at the DAV in Bowie, 7:30. And the VFW was the chairman last year. They're going out. The Amvest is coming in as chairman, and the Purple Heart will be the vice chairman. We do it on a rotation basis, and we'll get started. You know, all the committees and that will be done by the new chairman when he's sworn in September, and then the vice chairman is also the banquet chairman, where we have our Veteran of the Year, the banquet in March, and he's selected at the November meeting.
And everybody can show up.
Yes, anybody can show up. Of course, there's 8 delegates from every veterans organization, and all past chairmen are permanent members. Jerry and I are both past chairmen, so we're permanent members from the Marine Corps League. And as I say, there again, it's a great organization, and we really get everything going. And of course, when we go into session, Jerry goes down and he testifies on almost every veterans bill before the committees. He's legislative chairman for the for the JVC and for the Marine Corps League, and sometimes even speak for the DAV.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much I represent the DAV too.
Right.
And one of the big things that happens, is part of the responsibility of the DAV are their service officers.
Yes.
So why don't we give a pitch for our service officers?
Okay, yeah. We have a local service officer, Jerry George, and he was on last month's show. Okay, if you bring it up on YouTube, you can get his number, or can call the DAV, and he helps you get started. Then we have a tremendous office up in Baltimore at the Federal Building, and they go ahead and get everything ready. And they have 4 scanners now. The DAV here at Chapter 7, we bought 2. The department bought 1, and then of course the national bought 1. And we're going to be giving them another one, and because when you scan the paperwork in on your claim, it's done immediately. Where before, when you do it by paperwork, it takes 3 to 4 months, and now some of the guys are getting their benefits final benefits within 3 to 6 months, rather than the 6 months to a year to 18 months it normally take. And that's one of the main purposes of the DAV, is veteran service and claims, and getting everything that a veteran needs. And one thing that you want to put, especially with Vietnam, if you were in country, you're almost automatically eligible for 10%. They've increased a couple more of the deals regarding Agent Orange. So if you've been in country and near the Agent Orange, you have some of the symptoms, put in a claim. They have nothing to lose, everything to gain on that. And especially the incoming veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, there's a lot of things, go ahead and get your claims put in. It doesn't cost anything. We'd like you to be a member of the DAV or the VFW or the Marine Corps League, because if you're in the system, it helps. But you don't have to be a member of the Veterans Organization in order to get these benefits. We're here to serve veterans, whether they're a member or not.
And I think the most important thing for veterans and their family members is to make sure that your veteran, or you yourself as a veteran, gets registered with the VA. That's the most important step that you can possibly take. I urge you to do it as soon as you get out of the service, or right now. Get your paperwork together and get certified and registered with the VA, because that's the most important thing that you can do once you've completed your military service. Now, one of the other things that's happening, Jerry, is, of course, Camp Lejeune with its water problem down there. Were you down at Camp Lejeune during that period?
Possibly. They keep moving the date backwards. I was there in 1955, and it's pretty much later than that bad water at Camp Lejeune. And they've tried to get, it's kind of a sad thing, because the veterans themselves are treated by the VA, but you had children dying young, and it's all kinds of things have happened at Camp Lejeune. For example, the huge incidence of male breast cancer, which is relatively rare, And it's both. They had a cleaner putting bad water into the ground, and of course ordinance and things like that. So really, but they're talking now that you should register with the VA if you're even as far back as I am. Like the shoemaker's son, I haven't done it yet, but I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was down there in the whole year of 1956, and then we got married, and it was down there from 60-61 time frame. So I was there during the height of it.
Mm-hmm. So you can tell these guys have been around for a while. But the other things that we're doing, we also do not only for veterans, but also for the community. So Ray, tell us what the Marines are doing for the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, that sort of thing.
Right. Well, just recently we did a Eagle Scout award at the, this was at St. Matthews, and the Marine Corps League. Now this is about the 5th or 6th award that we've had, and the VFW also is there. Bob's the commander of the VFW. He represents them, and the Eagle Scout program is really terrific. It's really nice to go ahead and present a certificate recognizing an Eagle because it's really difficult, and they said like only 4 out of 100 Scouts ever become Eagles, and so it's really neat for us to get
These are
into
the
it.
ultimately good kids.
Right.
These are the kids that we ought to point out as far more typical of their generation than some of the problem kids that I deal with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I deal with the other class.
And that's the problem with the press. It seems like the bad situations are the ones that get the most press, and we really have a lot of very good young men and women who are coming up that will be taking our place in the not too distant future.
One thing I'd like to put a plug in: if any of the Scoutmasters, I think there's 6 here in Bowie, and we've only been contacted by 3. Let us know if you have an Eagle coming up. And now Girl Scouts also, Bob. The Girl Scouts have an award, so let us know because we are how you want to call it?
Yeah,
We
want to, and we encourage you to notify us because we have these awards out there for our young boys and girls who have achieved this rank, and it's very important for us simply to let us know what's going on.
like there's a scout of the
We're able to coordinate with the local elected officials, Senator Peters, Mayor Robinson, the delegates. They've been very, very helpful in this and very.
and the governor sends a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, we're veterans, but we're also part of this community, and we want to help because that's part of what we do. Is we're continuing to serve. In the fall, what we're having to do in the VFW is we also have policemen, firemen, EMS. We also have Teacher of the Year. We have programs for students. We have Patriot Pin. We have Voice of Democracy. Our Patriot Pin winner, an 8th grader from Crofton 2 years ago, won first place nationally for $5,000. For Voice of Democracy, the national award is $30,000. If you think that's important for your child, I urge you to find out about the program and to get involved. Well, it's kind of hard to believe, but our 30 minutes are up. I want to thank you for watching Veterans Forum. We hope you enjoyed the program and learned important information for you and your family. Now we ask you to get involved. Join your other Bowie veterans by stopping by the American Legion or the DAV. If you're a family member, we urge you to stop by and find out the benefits that you have earned and the support that's available to you and your family. Again, I want to thank our director, Tom Allen. And of course, new tonight is Joel Henderson. He's going to enter 9th grade at DeMatha High School, and he's interested in journalism. So we hope this gives him a pretty good start. So we ask you, our veterans in Bowie, please stop by and see us. And thank you again for watching Veterans Forum.